As we have heard, Advent is a season of waiting. And each Sunday, we are exploring the themes of Advent: hope, peace, joy, love, and light. And while our hearts and our spirits long for these Advent themes to take root in our own lives and in our world, they can feel especially far away and out of reach this time of year. Today we will focus on peace, both the internal peace that we experience and also the external longing for peace that we have around us. For many people, and this may be true for you, the Christmas season is a stressful time, and panic and anxiety takes the place of peace in our hearts. What songwriters call the most wonderful time of the year has also been said to be the most stressful time of the year. And it is the time of year that can make it feel anything but peaceful. Our culture tells us to hurry up and go, make the purchase so you don't miss out on the deal, rush, rush, rush to get the decorations up. I saw more Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving this year than I have any other year of my life. Buy the perfect gift for everyone on your list. Create the ultimate Christmas celebration for your loved ones and carry on all the family traditions, even if they are no longer meaningful. Worry about who is or who's not coming this year, coming home this year, or who might start a family fight at the dinner table. Those are our internal expressions of stress in our lives. And then there are the horrors of violence and war, hate and prejudice, shootings, high inflation, political unrest, crippling debt, and devastating natural disasters that rob individuals, communities, countries, and our world of peace. Whether we live these things ourselves or whether we absorb them through the news or listening to other people's stories, these realities leave our hearts broken and restless, and we wonder if peace is even attainable at all. I think the desire for peace is a universal longing, and it's why we as a community of faith gather again and again to tell and to remember the stories and promises of God. It's why we sing, O come, Emmanuel," reminding us of God's presence with us through the birth of Christ, the Prince of Peace, the one who is to lead us in the way of peace, love, hope, joy, and justice in our lives. We also recall from the prophet Isaiah's vision for peace that they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up swords against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. This vision paints for us an incredible picture in our mind's eye of a world at peace. And in today's passage from Isaiah, God promises us perfect peace, which in Hebrew is translated as shalom, shalom. In English, we have translated the word peace in the third verse as simply peace. But the repetition of the word found in the Hebrew, shalom, shalom, emphasizes that it is not just an ordinary peace, but it is a perfect peace that Isaiah sings about in chapter 26. Shalom, shalom intensifies this meaning and opens our minds further into what this peace could be. As one of the most important words in the Old Testament, shalom can be translated as peace and also as the absence of war, but it also speaks to something deeper. It speaks to well-being, health, completeness, and harmony. And Isaiah says this shalom, shalom is a byproduct of trust. Trust happens when we focus on who God is and who we are in relation to God. Placing ourselves and our trust in the one who calls us beloved, the one who promises a vision of a peaceable kingdom where the lion will lie down with the lamb. This does not mean that the challenges of our lives magically go away, or that we are all of a sudden happy or content or successful, or that we live without fear or stress or anxiety regarding situations in our own life or in the worldly events we read and see. But placing our trust in God, having faith, makes life a bit more bearable. And it helps us to develop a greater intimacy with the one who loves us and promises never to leave us. God's shalom, shalom, peace is accessible to you, meeting you where you are, right here, right now, no matter what is weighing heavy on your heart and depleting your peace today. As Jesus was nearing the end of his earthly ministry, he prepared the disciples for what is to come. And that leads us into our second reading today. He knew that it would not be easy or comfortable for them. So he says to them, "It is my peace that I leave for you." In the NRSV translation, it's "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." He knew that the peace offered by the world that we all seek is empty, and it can only bring temporary comfort. Think for a moment of all the things that you might do to self-soothe when things in your life feel out of control, when the anxiety is high, when the stress is off the charts. Do you endlessly scroll social media or binge watch TV at night to escape from the stress of work, of relationships, of the world? Do you turn to food or alcohol for relief in the moment just to feel better? Do you take a walk or call a friend when peace seems out of reach in your internal world and you need to gain a new perspective? No matter what it is that you do, isn't the experience that it's only temporary? Jesus' promise to us is that his peace is a permanent peace. It does not mean the absence of trouble or stress or worry or difficult relationships. Instead, it means that this God's peace, shalom, the gift of God's presence, is available to us at all times. And this peace is interdependent of our personal circumstances and the circumstances of the world. The world and the problems of the world, the problems in our life sometimes can feel overwhelming. And there does not appear to be a pathway towards peace. And it is in those moments we can choose to access the gift of silence, which some have said is God's first language. Instead of the frustration and anger coming out in words at a loved one, take a moment to stop and count to 10. Repeat shalom, shalom. Invite God's perfect peace into your life in that moment. In the car, when you're driving and the traffic is honking at you from behind, shalom, shalom. We have an access to this peace at all times, but it's so easy to forget how to do so. So the next time you're longing for that peace with your internal circumstance, I invite you to reach out to the one who is there offering that shalom peace. And then when the problems of the world seem overwhelming, as they do, we're invited to remember that God is using people all over the world, all over the country, who are working hard to reduce suffering, injustice, and violence by cultivating peace in their local communities on the ground. We can look to their examples for motivation for our own peacemaking efforts. And we can start with the 3 mission partners that we are uplifting this Advent season to raise $45,000 to help make a difference in our world. Our Advent mission campaign, Emmanuel's Heart, Humanity in Action, kicked off last Sunday for 3 nonprofit organizations who are working hard to bring a sense of peace to those hurting, those under stress, and those in turmoil. When you financially support the campaign, you can be an ambassador of peace in this season, remembering that peace is not just the absence of war or conflict, but it also speaks to well-being, health, and completeness and harmony of humankind. Every day, 1 in 2 Americans chooses between paying medical bills and covering basic needs. Since 2014, RIP Medical Debt, one of the mission partners the mission committee has chosen, has given more than 7 million families peace and freedom by eliminating nearly $10.4 billion in crippling medical debt. And just a half mile away from Westside, down at the train station, the Social Service Association of Ridgewood and vicinity has been a beacon of hope and peace for our neighbors, providing food for the food insecure and critical assistance to singles, to two-parent families, to the elderly, and to the disabled since 1913. And this Christmas, we are invited to help eliminate the stress for families with children so that they can provide gift cards and toys for the school-aged children who otherwise wouldn't be able to have Christmas this year. And then the Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, who is working hard and working with partners on the ground to provide vital humanitarian need and assistance to men, women, and children in Israel and Palestine. In just a moment, we will learn more about the work of PDA and what they're doing to help bear witness to Christ's love in the area. As we think about this second Sunday of Advent and we think about peace, it can feel out of reach. And especially world peace will only happen through God's action. But the kind of transformation and the perfect peace that's reflected in Isaiah's vision, it can feel like it is beyond our own capabilities. However, being an ambassador of peace in our own little corner of the world, in our families, in our workplaces, in our communities, that is possible. And we can do that as we put our trust in the one who promised to never leave or forsake us. The shalom of God is deep and abiding knowledge of being loved and cared for by God no matter what, accessing the calm in the midst of the storm. The peace that God gives may be beyond our comprehension in these times, but it is not beyond our grasp. God's Advent promise to us is that even though the road to peace in our own lives and in the world may seem out of reach, we never, ever walk that road alone. God, Emmanuel, walks with us, and God is working to redeem not just our story, but the story of the world. Thanks be to God. We will now learn a little bit more about the efforts of PDA and their work in Israel and Palestine.
As we approach the time of Advent, where we, as a church, prepare to welcome the Prince of Peace, we are reminded of the need not only to pray for peace, but also to be ambassadors of that peace, to be restorers of the breach. For the past 2 months, our hearts have been overwhelmed as the conflict continues to escalate and exact a heavy toll on civilian casualties, along with crippling home and property loss in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and Jerusalem. In response to this event, Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, in collaboration with World Mission and Presbyterian Peacemaking Program Ministries, has awarded more than $160,000 in grant funding to support relief efforts in Israel and Palestine. From day one, PCUSA partners have reached out in a cry for help for their communities, sharing the urgency to provide immediate care to those trapped in the middle of this conflict. As we continue to see the immense urgency shared by our partners in the affected areas, it is imperative to provide a rapid and steer response to the multiple needs arising from this disaster. In the face of a constant and changing development of the crisis, through the partners of the different programs of the Presbyterian Mission Agency, we have been able to provide funds that assist the most vulnerable of people. The funds have been distributed across several key areas: shelter and household items, public health, water, sanitation, hygiene, livelihood, restoration, mental health and psychosocial support, and cash assistance to partners in the regions. The longer this crisis persists, the more urgent becomes the need for adequate and timely assistance. Thank you.